Hello, this is Olivier from BoostMyShop. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a purchase order, set it up, notify the supplier and finally receive the products. To create a purchase order, we go to the menu Purchasing Purchase Orders. Here we will find all the purchase orders created already with the creation date, the order reference, associated supplier, the user who created this order, and the target warehouse. If you are working with multiple warehouses, suppliers may have to deliver to different warehouses. We also find the expected date of reception, order status, the percentage already received, total cost of the purchase order, invoices if you have recorded any, order type. It may be a standard purchase order or a drop shipping order, potentially the tracking number, did you fill in all the prices or not? And finally, has it been verified? To create a purchase order, there are two solutions: either you go through the supply needs, which was the subject of another video, or you can create from scratch a purchase order by clicking on the button at the bottom right. The first thing to do to create a purchase order is to select the supplier. Click on Continue. The next step is to enter the expected date of reception. You can enter an estimated value which you can of course modify later, and finally, click on Save. At this point, a new empty purchase order has been created. If we go back to the information at the top of the screen, we find the order reference followed by the supplier's name. Here's an alert zone for indication. For example, on this supplier, we have paid carriage, and the alert informs us that the minimum freight costs has not been reached. We also find main indicators like the order status, which is draft by default, the expected date of reception, the percentage already received, and the total value of the order including taxes. Then, these three indicators to help you answer the following questions: has the total order been invoiced? Are there any prices missing? Has the order been checked? Now let's go into the details of our purchase order. We'll go through each of the order tabs to understand better about myFulfillment. In the General tab, you will find the creation and update dates, the associated supplier, the status. We will come back to the status in a few moments. The type: distinct classic purchase order from a drop ship order. Who is the user who created this order? The reference: so this is your internal reference. It is generated automatically with PO- the date, and then an increment of numbers, like 1, 2, 3, 4. The next field is the order reference for the supplier. For example, once you have placed your order, the supplier will tell you his corresponding reference is PO34, which will allow you to have a more precise follow-up. The estimated date of reception. The other fields are optional. We will see this later. In the Miscellaneous tab, you will find a flag to indicate whether the order has been verified or not. In general, it is the accounting department that will use this flag, which will allow them to check with the invoices that everything is correct. The order's currency, which by default is the supplier's won. The exchange rate. If you have purchased in another currency from your base currency at that time, you can use the change rate. Important information: all the prices you entered in the order will be in the supplier's currency. However, myFulfillment will store the information using the supplier's currency, but principally takes into account of your currency mainly to calculate markup rates or the weighted average cost. The shipping costs and additional costs are called the approach costs. I can say that for this order I have 50 euros in shipping costs. The default tax percentage on this order and potentially a global discount that will apply to all the purchase prices that I will fill in at the product level. Just below in the delivery section, I will be able to fill in the information for a shipping label. The idea is actually to send the shipping label, for example UPS, to your supplier, and they will somehow use your carrier account to send you the products. Now let's go to the Products tab. Just before, I created a purchase order from scratch, so I don't have any products inside it. So what I have to do now is to add products to my order. Two solutions exists. First solution: from the Import/Export tab, I can import a CSV file containing the information about my products, the reference, the barcode, the quantity I wish to buy, the purchase price, the tax rate, the supplier reference if you know it, and finally the discounts and possibly a provisional date of reception. So, this will allow you to create a purchase order and import several products at the same time. Second solution: you can do this manually via the Add Products tab. Here, we will find a list of our products. An important point is that by default, the system will filter only the products linked for the current supplier. That is to say, I have 9 records corresponding to the 9 products already associated with the supplier BoostMyShop. If I want to have visibility on all my products, or if I want to add a product to my order that is not yet associated with BoostMyShop, at this moment, I will set this field empty and click on the search button. Thereupon, the entire product catalog will then be displayed. For each product, you will find the image, the name, the references, which are your internal reference and also the supplier's reference. A summary of the associated suppliers for the product with the primary supplier information in bold and the purchase prices. Status indicates if the product is active or not. Is the product stopped? A discontinued product is a product that you could no longer purchase, so by default, of course, a filter on products that are not discontinued is applied. A summary of stocks and sales history. This is a sales history over 3 ranges, which allows you to know the number of sales you have made and also to know the number of sales per week. Finally, in terms of needs, do we have any needs? If so, we can see purchase recommendations for this product. In this case, on the first one, the information I have is that I need to order 67 products to reach the minimum threshold, so from the screen we'll filter the products to find them and use the quantity column to add them. For example, I click 3 times, so I add 3 units, and on this one I add 25 quantities, for example. So when you add the products from this section here, they appear on the right hand side, and when all is good for you, you just have to save. myFulfillment will add these selected products to my order. If I go back to the Products tab, I find the 3 products I just added. So for each product, we'll find the image, the reference, the supplier reference. In your case, this product has the reference 24MB04. However, the supplier reference is Sold Pack 1. This is quite important because when we notify the supplier of the order, we will provide him his reference. The product name, the quantity ordered. Then, there is a notion of quantity per pack. The principle is as follows: if, for example, this product can only be bought in pack of 6 from the supplier, at that point I will enter the quantity of the pack 6. I click on Save, and at this moment, by ordering 1 pack of 6, I will buy 6 units. The quantity received and the defective quantity are the ones that I've already received, potentially from a partial reception, and that could be either well received or defective. The purchase price. We maintain the supplier currency for purchase order. We also have a reminder of the last purchase price from the last purchase order to identify a difference, potentially a discount, which will be applied to the purchase price. The subtotal, the percentage of taxes paid on the product. This purchase order was scheduled for 22nd July, but there may be an exception within this order, and specifically this product will not be received until October 29th. And finally, a summary of the stocks, the margins. We'll come back to this notion of margin, and if you want to remove a product from an order, you tick the checkbox and click on Save. So, I'll come back quickly to the notion of margin. If we take for example the third product, we see that we have a purchase price of €17. Switching to the Miscellaneous tab, you'll find the shipping costs. So what happens is that myFulfillment will take this shipping cost of €50, divided by the number of units you buy, and allocate part of the shipping cost to each product, which means that you buy this product at €17, but the final cost including shipping costs is €18.72. This allows you to check your margin at a glance with your selling prices. So the objective is to complete or create your purchase order by adding products, modifying quantities, etc. Once everything seems consistent at this point, you can print your purchase order by clicking on the small print button. The system will download a PDF that wrap up the purchase order information. So here, we find the information of the purchase order with the header, the invoicing and shipping addresses, as well as the product listings and the summary. So you can either print this order and send it by fax or notify the supplier. By clicking on the Notify button, myFulfillment will send an email to the supplier containing a summary of the order information, the product list, and the PDF attachment. Here is an example of an email. We find the main information of the order and especially 2 links: a link to download the PDF of this purchase order and a link to download the CSV file associated with the supplier. As soon as the email is sent, you will find the details in the History tab. This History tab will contain all the actions that have been carried out in this purchase order. If the supplier ever calls you and informs you of a modification to the order, for example to modify a quantity or a price, you can go back to the order, to recall, menu purchasing purchase orders, and make the changes. I may have ordered 3 products, but they will only deliver 2. So you can make needed changes before you receive the order. The next step should be to receive the products. When a new reception arrives in the warehouse, you will go back to the menu purchasing purchase orders. You will find your purchase order, click on it. For the moment, nothing has been received. You can see this with the 0% displayed at the top. Just as in the Reception tab, there is no received history. To receive a purchase order physically, that is to put the products in stock, you have to use the Receive button at the bottom right. When I click on the button, I find myself in a new screen where I will find all the products of the order. The principle is to use a barcode reader to scan the products received. It's like manually validating a product. Either you can use the minus and plus buttons to validate the reception of a unit. You can, of course, receive more than you ordered or less. myFulfillment provides enough flexibility so that you can receive the quantities that corresponds to reality. So, you scan your products or enter them manually and click on the Save button. This generates a new reception, which means that on one hand, the reception percentage is automatically updated. If I go to the list of my products, I can see that I have received 1 unit for the first product, 1 for the second, and 4 for the third one. On the other hand, if I go to check the stock movements and stocks of my product, for example by simply clicking on the reference, I see that the stock has been incremented. I can also see that in the so-called stock movements, an additional stock movement has been created for the purchase order. If I want to see the summary of the reception that have been made for an order, I can see it in the Reception tab, where I see that on October 8th, the user BoostMyShop received 6 products with the details of the products. Let's imagine that several days later, the supplier sends you the remaining products. At that point, you go back to this purchase order, and you create a second reception. You click on Receive again. You can select the quantities you received and save them. In my example, I received more products than I expected. However, I have not received all the products. myFulfillment considers that your order is still waiting to be received. If for some reason the supplier doesn't deliver the products, it's up to you to manually change the status of the supplier's order to complete. And you save. By doing this, the system records that the back orders will never be delivered. Last information concerning this notion of reception: you have access to all the receptions that have been made from menu purchasing receptions. You will find a list of all the receptions that have been made during the day. Thank you for watching this video, which concludes the basics of purchasing management with myFulfillment. See you soon on our apps.